I find that people who try to sell, who try to close, who they're not really trying to help me, it pushes me away. It makes me to lose trust. And if that's what's happened, what you'll find out is the harder you try to sell, the fewer clients you get.
If we walk around, we have this impression that to sell is to be like a snake, then we're not going to want to do it, or we're going to have a bad attitude towards doing it. If you hate doing something, you're not going to get good at it.
Most business people value time. Time is the most important thing I have. That's it. If I could do a logo for you right now and you love it in 5 minutes, are you saying it's worth less than 18 or is it worth more now?
You know you need to sell for the sake of your business, but you don't want to feel slimy afterwards. And if you've ever tried it before without much luck, I want to give you a different way of approaching sales. First, forget everything you think you know about sales. We have to do a little mental flossing, cleanse the palate, if you will.
So what we should do is we should try to see if there's a problem first. Is there a problem? So we ask questions to figure out what the problem is. Now you may have a clue as to what the problem is. So you do what doctors do. They generally ask a couple of questions to eliminate possibilities, right? Oh, it's not brain cancer. It's not a heart problem. Right? It's not a muscular cardiovascular thing. It's not any of those things. So what is it? So let's ask questions. Hey, how's it going? I need some help with web comps. I heard you do amazing web comps.
Yeah, I really do. I have a lot of clients that were really happy with the work that I've done, and I'd be happy to work with you too. I also do brand strategy if that's what you're looking for. I have helped other clients with their work and would really think that partnering with me would be a great idea. I love what you're doing currently. Your community is really loving you. I've seen the success that you've had in the past, and I'd love to see what's going on and see if I can help.
You're
in
new
any
to
way.
this. You're new to this.
I'm very new.
Okay, so first of all, you're just pitching me right now. Do you know that? How do we feel when we're being pitched to, guys? Not good. We're being sold again. So here's the next thing, okay? I want you to stop selling. Stop selling, okay? You want to close more jobs? Start serving. Different S word. How can I be of service to you? You've asked me 0 questions. How can you diagnose if you haven't asked me any questions? Okay? Yeah. Start thinking about some questions you want to ask me. Remember, our goal is to figure out, is there a problem we can solve? Or is there a problem, period, to be solved? Think about that.
You want to know my hourly rate. My hourly rate's this times this. So I have a question for you, client. Why do you want to know my hourly rate?
I guess I want to know where my $18,000 is going.
Okay, so does that mean if I do work less hours, I should charge you less?
Yeah.
So if I go over those hours, I should charge you more?
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're saying to me, you value this logo taking longer rather than shorter. So it means if I just tell you it took me 4 months to work on it, you will now owe me $36,000.
If it's in my budget and if I think you're worth it, but I would also ask, why would it take that long to make that logo?
I want to put a lot of effort into it.
But I could hire somebody else who would charge me the same rate but do it quicker.
So you value time over money then?
Sure, as a business person, yeah.
So here's the deal. I work really fast. I can come up with a logo, but I'm being punished for me being efficient and really good. You understand the logic doesn't work now?
Sure.
That's the problem. So clients can't have it both ways. They can't say, tell me how many hours, but you can't go over it. I can't put a cap on it. It has to have some symmetry to the logic. So if I work less, you want me to pay me less. So then there's a lot of analogies that you can draw now. Most business people value time. Sure. Remember the beginning of our talk? Time is the most important thing I have. That's it. So if I could do a logo for you right now and you love it in 5 minutes, are you saying it's worth less than 18 or is it worth more now? Because I saved you a lot of time. We can go to market right now. It's worth more. So charging by the hour punishes me for being good. You can hire 4 interns straight out of school. They'll charge a couple $100 total, and you'll wait. And then you'll say it's not right, but you can't articulate to them and they don't know why. And you keep waiting, you keep revising, and what aren't you doing now? You're not running your business. Shouldn't you be focused on your business? So my job is this, Jung. I'm gonna give you an amazing logo that you're not gonna have to change for a long time. A mark that you're gonna be proud of, that people are gonna look at and clearly understand what it is that you do. That's worth $18,000 today. Come back to me in a year, it'll be 26. Who wins? Who says it first or who says it second? Second. Anybody say first? Okay, this is what we're all taught. Car dealership, how much your car costs? Right. So I can then go and lowball you, right? Well, I thought that too, until I read this book that told me that was backwards. Whoever says it first wins.
Hi Chris, how's it going? We have a project for you to do some branding.
Love it.
The budget is £2,000. And we'd like to start working ASAP.
Oh my gosh, when you were describing this project to me, I had this delusions of grandeur. I not even know how to say this part. It's going to make me feel a little awkward. Now here's the thing. I think I know what you want. I'm just not sure I'm the guy to do it for you. And I think you can get what you want done for that money, for maybe even less. There's this girl I know in Edinburgh that could probably do it for a lot less. However, I'm just conflicted because I don't know how to do that for that budget. Usually we start somewhere between $50,000 to $20,000 or pounds. So I can't reconcile this in my mind. Now, I don't want to say no to you because I like your vibe, I like your vision, I like your company, but I'm not sure this is gonna work. Is there anything else that I'm missing here, Sarah? Maybe there's more budget somewhere else if you want to work with me, but otherwise I just can't take it on. What do you think?
That's a fair point, Chris. But we have to put some of that money elsewhere as well. We want to bring certain people on, and we have some marketing that we want to do.
Sounds like you can't do it. You probably don't need me. I'm sure if you call a few people, you can find somebody else to do it for you. It's just not going to be me, sadly. If you should talk to other people and you don't like what they do, feel free to give me a ring. The price is still the same, but then I can help you. Just out of curiosity, what's motivating this conversation today? What are you trying to get done?
We're not getting high enough sales. We're not reaching the quite the right target audience. We want to sort of fit in with a younger millennial vibe.
Here's what I heard you say. You're not getting enough sales. You're not connecting with the right audience. Those are big problems to solve. Like if you don't fix this problem, what is it going to cost you? In lost opportunity. Billions? Millions? Yeah, probably millions. So it's going to cost you millions to don't fix this problem. Yet you're going to only want to spend, what I heard was £2,000 to fix the problem. Now, I've been reading this book. It's a good book. It's by this author's name is Jim Rohn. And he talks about the minors and the majors. That he says that oftentimes in life, we get these things mixed up. That we don't want to put a major effort into a minor goal. You don't want to spend millions of dollars to buy a suit. That doesn't make sense. Conversely, you don't want to make a minor effort for a major goal. So if you stand to lose millions of dollars of business and every single day it's going to cost you money, does £2,000 seem an appropriate amount of money to spend? What do you think?
I think it sounds disproportionate.
It sounds disproportionate to me too. Now, you wouldn't want to spend $1 million to fix $1 million problem, because then the best you would get is you would break even. But some percentage of that seems reasonable, and I'm a business guy. I want to be reasonable too. So if you could buy an insurance policy to stop this from happening, how much percentage would you spend?
30%?
30% sounds very generous. I don't think we need to spend that much. Because 30% of $1 million, my math is really not that good. I think it's 300,000. Here's the great news. I can help you for a lot less than that. We haven't gotten into the whole thing, so I don't know all the parts and pieces that need to be fixed. But I know at least we can get started in the £20,000 range. That does seem pretty reasonable, doesn't it?
I find that people who try to sell, who try to close, who have a very clear agenda that they're not really trying to help me, it pushes me away. It makes me fearful. It makes me to lose trust in this person. And if that's what happens, what you'll find out is the harder you try to sell, the fewer clients you get. So it's counterintuitive.
What should a creative who is currently pricing their work actually be looking at to measure the value of what they do relative to the person that they're serving?
Okay, and here's the answer, and it's going to seem strangely like hypocritical. You should be selling time. You're like, wait. What did I just miss something? Yeah, you should be selling time. You've been measuring time in the wrong way. You're measuring time in which you work on it, not time for the client. So the person who buys a service or product, they have some abstract value of time. So let's take it to the real world again. So here I am about to have a dinner party and have a bunch of guests coming over. And for whatever reason, the oven or the stove isn't working and I need an electrician to come out and fix the problem for me right away. Given the added urgency, the importance of who's coming to dinner, the social standing I have within my family or with my guests, all of a sudden my time becomes really important now. And I'm starting to stress out. Now, if I happen to be a well-to-do person, a well-off person, then the electrician who can come here and do the job is going to get a better tip, and I'm willing to pay more, double, triple their normal rates. That's the time that matters.
How long have you been running your business?
A year.
A year. Okay, you've been in business for a year. And I don't know if you know this, but I do business coaching one-on-one, right? I charge $1,000 an hour, but I'm going to help you out. How much can you afford?
Realistically, I can't afford it.
Not at all?
Monetarily.
I'm going to give you the best price in the world. I normally charge $1,000 an hour. How much can you afford?
$0.
Really? Forget about it. What I was trying to prove to you is as soon as I say $1,000 an hour, what are you doing in your mind? You're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. If I say 400, I thought that was a lot, but now I can't say it relative to 1,000.
Well, so that's why I'm saying I can't afford it, because if I know that you're charging 1,000, that means you're worth. I mean, I'm thinking, oh, okay, he must be worth 1,000.
Oh, I'm worth more than that. That's
well,
a
yeah,
discounted
but
price.
I'm saying, so that's why I'm saying, well, I can't afford it, because I don't want to go lower than 1,000, because.
You see what's happening there? It's called anchoring. Whoever says the number first,
right.
You're thinking about that number, right?
Yeah.
If we walk around, we have this impression that to sell is to be like a snake, then we're not going to want to do it, or we're going to have a bad attitude towards doing it. If you hate doing something, you're not going to get good at it. So I think what we do is we need to have an alternative to Mr. Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, one where it's more permission-based, where you're actually giving or creating value to others. That feels in alignment with who we are, that's led by curiosity, and given in the spirit of generosity. That sounds a lot more palatable, right? But that's probably not the image that you have of a salesperson.
I would like to raise the prices, but also I have a fear of losing all of my clients.
When you look at the money that you've made off of this business, is the majority off of repeat business, or is the majority off of one-off projects where the person doesn't come back?
The repeat.
Okay. It's difficult to raise your prices on repeat customers?
Mm-hmm.
Have you raised your prices on new customers?
I have. They still complain, all of them.
They still complain. So raising your prices on existing customers is just a hard sell, because the client is used to getting what they're getting for that price. And when you start saying, well, my prices went up because all they hear is, what's the deal? Every time a new client comes in, you must raise your prices, because guess what happens? New client comes in, you raise your price. Next month, another one, another one, another one, another one. This time next year, you're charging double, triple, quadruple what you charge today. That's my thought, is to position yourself as an expert, not as a service provider.
I think I want to focus on mindset a little bit. Normally I'm like, do this, and you'll make 4 times as much money. What's the biggest driver in price? Supply and demand. Supply and demand. So when there's a lot of supply and little demand, the price is going to go down. So this is not even about magic or deception. It's just really about controlling supply and demand. So when Banksy makes a painting, there's one painting. If you want it, you're going to pay $1 million for it. The question is, how do we get there? And there's this idea of mindset, and I get it. We feel bad when we raise prices. We seek approval from others, and we feel happy when clients like our work and they want to give us more work. So much so that we kind of repress our own desires and what it is that we want to do. We repress our own values.
So what does it really mean to sell? Well, it's not what you think. Selling is not pitching. It's not presenting, it's not convincing, and it's not a form of manipulation. The goal of sales is to inspire the prospect to make a decision, not to tell them what to do. You do this by helping them to think through their challenges. You don't tell, you ask. Okay, so are we talking about a video project here?
Yeah, so taking my long form content and creating micro content from it.
This is perfect. A lot of people actually do call me up for helping them out with video content. So this is right up my lane and alley. Now, I don't want to get into the weeds with you here. Generally speaking, there's a pain point that you want to solve. And I just need to know what that pain point is for you. Like, why don't you just want to do this with whatever internal team you must already have?
I want to be hands off on this. Yeah, I have a team. I could use one of them potentially, but I'd have to get all that started and get the process going, and just getting them to that level of producing at the rate that I would like, I think it would take a while, and I would like to just be hands off with this.
I see. That's perfect. So it sounds to me like you're saying you need to be hands off. You got other fish to fry. It's going to take you time to ramp up and scale up your team. And right now you're mostly concerned about the output. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So then the other thing I just need to know, and just only a couple more questions, I don't want to kill you with all my questions, I hope you don't mind, is that you're doing content now, presumably, and you want it to perform better than now. Is that a safe assumption?
Well, better, it's actually different. So I have long form content right now, and it's performing well where it's at. And I want to move into a new domain and so what we have on YouTube, I want to take that and then push it out to my audience and other platforms. So it is a new thing. So it's not even that I need it to be better. It's just, I'd like it to work and expand.
So what I understand is right now you're doing 0, and anything more than 0 is better, is it not? Okay. So it sounds to me like you have some really good long form content that you want to create something that's a little more bite-sized. Is this going to live on Instagram or some other platform?
Yeah, Instagram and LinkedIn.
Chris, I don't think we can afford you. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And I'm even embarrassed to ask you, but is somebody in your network, and they design our identity system? Let me try and find somebody in my network. So I go to Ben Burns and say, Ben, I really want to do this project with this guy. He's super cool. We need to develop a relationship with them. I want to do that. Ben's like, ask for 15. Right? Ask for 15. I'm like, no, dude, he said he can't afford this. He told me 10 is what he's got. And then I went home and I was thinking about it. I'm like, damn it. He just dropped an anchor on my face and I fell for it. Right? So I let it chill out. The effects of the anchor wore off me. I sent him an email and said, look, I can help you find it for 10. But if you want me to do it, I can do it for 30. See, so I ignore the anchor. I chop that thing off. I drop a new anchor, 30. He's like, no, we can't afford this. We can't. I'm like, I knew it. Okay, fine. I'll help you find somebody. Okay? And he says, sure, I would appreciate that. And then because now it's dropped to my super low priority list, a couple days go by. I'm like, oh, the email. I need to refer somebody to this guy, right? I gotta find somebody. I'm writing the email. And I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna introduce you to this person, and here's their phone number, and then bloop, in my inbox. Chris, we really thought about it. We totally want to work with you. We'll make the money work. Let's get really creative on this. I delete the email. Right? New anchor. I want everybody who's listening to this, who's in a position where your survival depends on your ability to sell, I want you to rethink the word sell. I just want you to change that word. It's 4 letters. Let's just erase that word in your mind and just help. So transform sell to help. Like, I want to help you. And I genuinely and with full enthusiasm believe that where you have a challenge, I can actually provide service. But I want to understand what your needs are. I want to understand how you make decisions. I want to understand what has prevented you from having success up until this point. And if I can truly help you, I will. If you help the other person, if you, in their eyes, are perceived as somebody who is worthy of being trusted, they will not only pay you more money, they'll stop talking to other people, and they'll give you more creative latitude than you've ever had in your life. So it's counterintuitive. And the reason why is I think it's because in popular culture and media, we have too many bad examples of what it means to sell somebody something. We have the Wolf of Wall Street. We have con men, con women, con people who run around saying, that's the alpha prototype, is sell, high pressure, aggressive. And to me, it's an old way of selling. I think it works in some areas when the seller has a lot of leverage. But in most cases, for creative people, it's really ineffective. Sales is not convincing. It's not persuading. It's not manipulation. Selling is helping. It's about being curious. Selling is learning. Selling is an act of generosity.
So that's a lot to remember and process. So serve, ask, listen, empathize, and summarize. I just want you to focus on the 2 key skills. You don't need to know anything else. If you can do these 2, asking and listening, you'll nail this thing. So focus on these 2 things. To me, when you ask a really good question, it's like magic. You open the client's mind. And there's a great book. I don't know if you read it. It's called The Coaching Habit. And there's a framework in there that Michael Bungay-Stanier talks about. I'll share the questions with you. But I didn't realize this is an amazing sales coaching book. It's not. It's about something else. But in it, as I read it, I'm like, that's how I sell. This is perfect. Number 1, he says, be slower to give advice. Ask more questions. Be curious longer. And here are the 6 or 7 questions that he has. And the ones that I highlighted for you is what's on your mind? And then you keep asking, and what else, and what else? And then you ask, and what's the real challenge for you? The next thing you need to know is if you ask but you don't listen, the question is worthless. And people do this all the time. And they'll do this later today with you. They'll ask you a question about how your life is going, and then their eyes will be somewhere else. They don't really care. So you have to listen. They're twins, asking and listening. So you want to do this thing that Kevin Daly talks about. It's called full value listening. Full value listening is whatever the other person says is the most important thing you've ever heard. You have to listen with great attention to detail with what they're saying and to feel what they're feeling. The mistake that I'm talking about here is when you ask a question, they give you an answer. The very next question should be a follow-up to the answer they gave you. That's how you know you're listening. And I see this happen all the time. Somebody asks a question, you get an answer, and then just ask a totally different question unrelated to the first question. Because then you feel like, oh, I think you're reading a script right now. And unfortunately, this is how most podcasters interview people. They have 75 questions. They literally just go from question to question.
So the question I'm getting to right now is, what metrics matter to you? So if we start creating content for you, when you look at it, what are you going to say? Like, yeah, it's working really well.
Well, increase sales. Because at the end of the day, I want to expand my audience so that they convert into email subscribers, so that they convert into sales. So at the end of the day, it would be an increase in sales.
Okay, since I don't have control over those parts, what's the best thing that the video can do for you?
Reach. Just
reach. Okay, perfect.
Reach. Well, I would also say that if we can get those viewers to take action, which the one action would be to convert into an email subscriber. And if we can't go that far, I would say at least to click on the website at minimum.
Okay. So it sounds to me if there's a certain audience size that's looking at this and they actually just click on whatever link, then the video has done its job, right?
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about click-through rate or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a number in mind as to every piece of content that you create, how many views you want to get or what kind of engagement you're looking for?
I'd have to look at my numbers. I could work backwards from the click-through rate that I currently have and the views that I currently have on the posts. They're not videos. I hear that videos perform better. So reach would be about 3,000 per post. If I could do better than that, that would be wonderful. And then the click-through rate is 10%, 300 for every 3,000.
10% click-through rate?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you're getting some killer click-through rate. You must have really good content right now. Okay,
Thank you.
That sounds pretty good. It sounds to me, just based on my experience, that the reach could be actually higher than what you're setting, but the click-through rate, since this is new, that sounds really high. Like internet average and click-through rate is like in the low single digits here. Is that what your experience aligned with that, or is it different?
I'll have to check the actual numbers. It could be lower than that, but my click-through rate in general is higher than the average.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm eager to start working with you. What's going to make this a no-brainer for you to say, like, Chris, let's get this thing going?
I would love to test this out because this is something new that we haven't done before. I know the long-form content works. I know the content that I'm currently posting is working as well. So I would love to somehow just test this out, and I don't know how long that would take to see results, if that's a couple weeks, if it's a month.
Okay. All right. A couple of things here. So it sounds like you want to do a trial, and that makes a lot of sense to mitigate your risk. And I don't want to put you in a situation where you feel like you're overly committed to working with me. Obviously, I'd only want to work with you if you felt like we're getting the results that you want. Joe's asked for his budget. What you want to do is you want to say big round numbers and you want to give them a couple of numbers. It's called price bracketing. So Joe, what do you do again?
I'm a web developer.
So how much would it cost to do a standard website from you?
Without knowing more particulars,
yes,
that we're looking maybe 10 to 20,000.
Okay.
For a website.
Yeah, that was excellent delivery, by the way. 10 to 20,000 somewhere, and you did a great job. Is that how you normally talk to your clients?
Now I'm going to talk to them.
Right, so what we want to do is big round numbers, and what we want to do is we don't want to be messing around. It could be 10,000, it could be 50, it could be 200. I don't know. Let's get into this. And you're listening for the reaction. That's what I'm doing. It's like sonar. You bounce the sound out, you see how far the wall is. When they don't fall out of their chair at 200, you know where your budget's coming in at, right? And I will even say that. I'm like, okay, because I know like a client who cannot afford me. Because you know why? They're the owner and the founder. If the owner and the founder calls me, I know it's not going to work. I already know that. Too small of a company. The best questions start with what? What opens the discussion? What remains neutral? What is unbiased? How questions focus on tactics, and unfortunately, we're rushing to find the answer. How do we do this? How might we solve this? Why questions sound accusatory if the tone isn't correct. So be careful of using why questions. Like, I don't even know what we're doing yet, but I gotta tell you, my minimum level engagement is $2,500 a month to work with me. And that's just for me to dedicate resources so that I can do this for you. And it can go on up from there for up to $12,000. I have a client that I work with that pays me $12,000 a month. So perhaps what we can do is figure out together what number feels comfortable and then design a package that will meet your needs based on your budget. Where are you in that spectrum?
My budget, I came in thinking it was going to be around 2,000.
Okay. Can you
or
go?
That's what I would be comfortable investing in that.
Right. Can you go a little north of that? We're talking about a $500 difference. It's hard for me to take on clients that spend less than that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm a little hesitant with that just because I've already budgeted out that. But what type of results could I expect with that? Or is this just, because I was ready to test with the 2,000, but I'm a little hesitant going higher.
Okay. So if you spent $2,500 with anybody, me or some other vendor, and you got certain results, and we both know this, if you got something that exceeded your expectations, then $2,500 would be a bargain. But if it's less than what you'd hoped for, then you would feel like it's wasting money. So you tell me what results you want. How many videos do we need to post a week? How much engagement? And we could set those as benchmarks, and I'll work on it so that until we get there.
Yeah, if I could have 5 videos a week at 2,500, I would feel good about that.
Okay, 5 videos a week. So we're talking about doing 20 videos a month? Okay, so there's usually a sliding scale between quality versus quantity. It sounds to me like you want to do more quantity than quality. Is that the case?
Well, because my long form content has already been, you could say, validated by the audience, I know that there is a type of quality that already we're bringing to the table with the video. So as long as the cuts are the right cuts and chosen correctly, then I feel like we're already coming in with high quality.
I see. So you're looking for somebody to simply just take those videos and just cut them down and not actually add a lot to it.
You know, I don't need to add a lot to it, but I do need someone who is going to pick really well the micro cuts that will connect with my audience. That is what I'm looking for.
Right. Well, we could just look at your engagement graph on YouTube and look at the analytics and just pull from there. I mean, it's not much of a guessing game at that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So it sounds to me like what you really need is just a live human being to just grab that, look at the data, and give you something. I'd like to think I add a little bit more to it than that by adding titles and graphics and maybe pulling in quotes that are relevant or just recontextualizing it so that it feels fresh and new and relevant, because you're talking about engagement and designing these things for a clear call to action at the end. But it doesn't sound like you need that.
What is it that I need then?
Oh, just somebody to cut it down.
Oh. Well, to cut it down.
Because I can't honestly tell you I could do 5 cuts or 5 videos for you a week, 1 per day, and really, given how much I'm getting paid to actually add all the extra stuff that I think will get you the results that you want.
I see. So what would, in your mind, give me the results that I want? How many videos?
I think we need to scale it way back. I think maybe 2 to 3 videos a week. And that way I can spend some time, and also it'll give me time to think and reflect on the engagements you're getting, and not just be cutting these things in advance and not paying attention to what your audience is doing and reacting to. Yeah.
Got it. So you'd be more involved and engaged in not just there to cut down the video, but there
that's
to
what I was trying to say.
Respond to the audience and create things that will actually get me to my goal.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you wanted, right? So that's what I heard, and not just hiring an editor to do straight editing work for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay, so does that feel like it's kind of getting you in a place where you feel really comfortable and happy about this?
Yes.
Okay, so if we did, say, 3 videos a week at $2,500 a month, we can try this out for 30 days. And I think what will happen in the very beginning, there's a little learning curve. I want to be honest with you. I got to still get a feel for your content, and it's probably not going to happen until midway point. So are you okay with that, knowing that it's going to take a little time to get there?
Yeah, I understand that we need that time.
All right, and most likely what I'd like to do with you too is maybe do maybe every 2 weeks give you a report, and we can have a conversation and redirect if necessary, or you can say, I love that, give me more of that, or a little less of this. Is that okay too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And I gotta tell you, I want you to be totally 100% comfortable with this decision, because I actually like you. I'd love to work with you, and I know that you're a big influencer yourself, so I want to make sure this is a home run for you.
Thank you. Yes, I feel confident moving forward.
Okay, super. So I will send over a 1-page deal memo, and if you're okay with that, I'll send you an invoice and you can pay it and we'll get started. I can start as soon as you guys send me a check. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, Melinda.
Thank you.
If you want to make $1 million, give 5 years of value. Do not ask for a single thing. What happens is every time you ask for something, all right, so you give value, if you give value, you ask, you drop to the bottom again. You start over. You're losing goodwill. The more goodwill, the more value you create for other people, the bigger the ask can be. So you give value. He said 5 years, you can be a millionaire. Just give value for free for 5 years. Whenever you want to ask for something, they will sign up.
People don't ask enough questions, or they ask the wrong kinds of questions. Instead, they just want to advise their clients on what to do. So they become an expert, and no one likes to talk to an expert, because before a client will hire you, they need to understand, do you recognize me? Do you understand me? Do you understand my problem? Do you understand my wants and needs, my fears and hopes? Do you understand the problem well enough before you start selling me? And we all have this allergic reaction. When someone meets us, they reach out their hand and they're trying to sell to us immediately or giving us advice. Even if it's really good advice, it's a turnoff for most of us. There's always exceptions to the rule, unless you're a really well-respected thought leader and authority in a space where everyone comes to you for advice, then you could make that assumption. But even still, I'd strongly encourage you to ask more questions and to be slower to giving advice. Now, not all questions are created equal, despite what your 3rd grade school teacher told you. And there are such things as dumb questions. How do I know? I get dumb questions all the time. Sometimes when we think about what makes for a really great question, if we just think about what makes for a really bad question, it'll illuminate that, because all we have to do is do the inverse of what a really bad question is. What is a bad question for you? Well, a bad question is one that's leading, that's predetermined in terms of what the answer is supposed to be. Like a question that says, would you like to eat spaghetti for dinner? First of all, you're assuming that I'm hungry, that I want to eat dinner, that I want to eat spaghetti. And you're driving me down a chute that says I must answer in the affirmative, or I might risk alienating you or offending you. And these are the kinds of questions people ask all the time. They're binary and they're leading. So what kind of question should you ask? You should ask an open question that is directed towards something that you want to learn from a person. So you could say something like, if you were to have dinner tonight and hungry, what kind of food would you prefer? So this puts them in a state of like, okay, so if I want to eat dinner and if I'm hungry, what is it that I want? And so by asking this kind of question, you can get a peek into the prospect's mind. And from that, you should just keep asking more and more questions until it becomes super clear. Here are some examples of questions that you can ask. What's on your mind? What would be a big win for you? What's getting in your way of accomplishing this? What's the real challenge for you? I love this question because it supposes that there's an unreal or a fake challenge, and oftentimes it's a smokescreen that somebody will present to you as the real problem. What keeps you up at night around this? What is open for reimagining? Who else needs to be part of this discussion? And what else?
Hey, Christina, due to circumstances I could not control,
I'm in a car, I'm driving through mountains, and I want to make sure we get through the important part of our conversation today in the very likely event that we're going to get some interference, and I don't want that to happen.
Wonderful. That sounds great.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about what you're thinking.
I'm trying to build my own personal brand to then leverage it to help other women that need to see somebody that represents them and is strong and is an entrepreneur. And I need content. I need somebody to manage my platforms, and I need to get to a lot of followers fast.
If you were to have whatever it is that you're describing, at least in your mind, what's the most urgent things? Let's just go through really quickly. Big picture, like what are the components that you need to get your personal brand launched?
Definitely knowing what kind of content I need to post, somebody to manage that content for me, and being able to increase my followers. Like by the end of the year, I want to have at least 100,000 people.
Fantastic. You just gave me a lot of high level objectives in terms of like just drill down the deliverables. Do you have an identity? Do you have a color palette? Do you have a brand voice? Have you written articles and made posts and videos before?
None of that. I'm just experimenting and seeing what works, but I need somebody to be able to manage that and ask those kind of questions and lead me in the right direction.
Okay. It sounds like you need a lot of work. The only other thing I need to know is how urgent is this for you?
I'd like to get started as soon as possible.
And let me just ask you this question. This is a very realistic question. If you don't get this thing done, is there any real financial impact to you right now?
No, because I'm full-time employed. So this isn't my only thing.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And is your employment contingent on how quickly you can set up your personal brand? Is the plan to quit your job and do this full-time?
I think that's long-term, but I actually want to leverage my position in my company for my personal brand.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So let me just quickly summarize what I heard you just say, okay? You have a full-time job. You want to really get this personal brand up and going. You're not quite sure what to do with the social media stuff. You need somebody to really kind of take control of that, get this thing off your plate so you can focus on your main job and then developing the real content for your second company. There is urgency behind this, but really it's because you need to get something going to build the groundwork for some eventual transition.
Right.
So it initially sounds a lot more urgent, but it really may not be as urgent as you think. And the only reason why I say that I want confirmation from you is because if it's urgent, you're going to have to spend money and you're going to have to move really fast. That does not sound the case, is it?
No.
Okay, fantastic. Now, just based on our preliminary discussion, what we're just talking about right here, I need to float some numbers in front of you. Because what I don't want to do is to have this really long, protracted conversation with you, only for both you and I to realize that as much as we love each other, we can't tie the knot because you can't afford it. Is that okay?
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually great.
Okay. So now I'm going to break the project down. So it sounds like you need a content strategy. You need to develop probably even a brand Bible for who you are, what you want. So there's some visual identity stuff. There's some design work that needs to be done. And then we have to kind of figure out the strategy to get you to 100,000. Now, while driving here, I'm not driving. I just looked at your account. You're at 10,000 followers. So you're talking like a 10x growth here, right? And if you even break that down into months, it's like, this is a lot of work to get you these people organically, because we want organic growth. Don't hold me to this, but in a ballpark in the universe that I'm in, it could be as much as $40,000 to do this. And probably at the low end, probably like 18,000. Now, how does that sit with you?
Is that for the year?
That's just to get this thing going. But I don't want to make any kind of firm commitments to you.
Right.
I'm just telling you kind of the range of where we need to be. And it could be for the year. It could be in a month. I do not know, because I can't know this in talking to you for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But the first thing is we'd probably have to do some kind of strategic brainstorming, which will cost you money. But there's no point to do that if you can't afford the rest.
Right.
So let me know where you're sitting with this.
That's actually way higher than I could afford. I wasn't thinking beyond 4 figures.
What does that mean? How much are you talking about?
I was thinking no more than like 2,500.
Oh, low 4 figures.
Yeah.
So
you got to understand, like, this is all coming out of my pocket.
Oh, I expected that when you said it's a personal brand. Mm-hmm. The word personal implies that.
Is there no way to like work up to this? I mean, just to be really honest with you, not to disrespect you at all, there's no way that I can drop even the low part of your.
Yeah, it sounds like we're pretty far apart.
Yeah.
Because I gave you a pretty broad range from 40 to 18, and you're coming at 2,500. Look, I can get really creative, but I don't know how to stretch $2,500. Like that just gets us through our first meeting and no deliverables. I don't think in good conscience I can recommend you even hiring me, even if you have to leverage other things. If you need to spend $2,500 and you think you can get this done from somebody, God bless you, please do it, because I'm not your person. And if it works out for you, please tell them to call me, because I'd like to hire them too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's not waste our time here. I just don't know what else I can do. It could be a function of maybe you have to do this bootstrap yourself and save some money, maybe buy some assets and templates. I do not know. But probably even from the world that you come from, in that corporate world, you understand the budgets that they're working with.
Right.
We're scaling it way back, because if it were for corporate, you could probably add a 0 or 2 to the numbers I just gave you.
My vision for this was to bring somebody on and work into it. So work up.
Right.
Yeah.
But even at, I mean, it's just, I don't sell myself on a day rate, but even at a $400 a day rate, let's just say, that doesn't buy you very many days. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. There's a misalignment between your expectations and what it costs actually to get a creative human to do this work for you. So maybe it's just a recalibration, but I hope you found this conversation to be productive and helpful to you. Maybe just as a first check, a temperature check, and we're way off here, right? Sales mistake number 2 is people who ask questions but don't actually listen. So listening is an art, and most of us are really poor listeners. And we're afraid to play back what we heard to confirm with the other person, because we're afraid that we might get it wrong. Actually, if you get something wrong, this is an opportunity for the prospect or the client to correct you so that you have the right information, so you're not building on assumptions that are wrong. So learning how to listen. Here's what I recommend that you do. Instead of making and keeping eye contact, which is what many people are told to do during a sales conversation, to give the clients your undivided attention, what I would suggest that you do is to keep a notebook and write down what they're saying. This signals to the client that I'm paying careful attention, almost as if I'm reporting whatever it is that you're saying, like you're the most important person. Your words matter so much, I must scribe them in a notebook, not leave it to chance that my memory is going to correctly recall what it is that you said. And when we play back, we should say something like, what I heard you say was you need X by Y and you have a problem with Z. Is that correct? So I'm summarizing what the client had said, and whenever possible, I'm paraphrasing key concepts and even the language in which they use to let them know I'm not misinterpreting. I'm not trying to change what it is they said. I'm just recording. And if you are able to listen and ask better questions, you don't even need to hear the other 3 tips, but focus on this. So many people screw this up.
Anthony's the client. I'm the vendor. And I push Anthony. What's going to happen? What happens when I push Anthony? Anthony, he's going to push back much harder than I can handle. Like what I was just doing with you. Right? Watch this. What if I just stand with Anthony and say, what are we looking at, friend? What is the problem we're talking about? Do you believe that identity systems are important?
No.
What should we be doing instead?
Increasing productivity, sales, marketing range.
Wonderful. Of those, which is the most important? Which one will make the biggest impact on your bottom line?
Sales.
Sales. Sounds like you need sales help. Okay, maybe I'm not the right person.
Cool.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Let's save some money. Don't spend money on identity system.
Correct.
Okay, are we fighting?
No.
See how it's done?
Yep.
Okay, you see the difference there? I don't want to fight with him. I don't want to fight with any of you. But what you do is you're just pounding against him, trying to win a fight that you will not win. The only thing that clients will do is what they already want to do. So my job is to find out what they want to do. In the case of Anthony, if identity and design does not matter to him, I'm not going to do that. The problem is if that's all you sell, you're screwed. In the case of Anthony, this fake role play here, he will not be a customer today. I'm totally okay with that. He might tell 3 other people. Look how powerful this is, okay?
Let's go step by step. What do? You created content consistently around his subject matter expertise. Creating massive, social proof. People do not want to buy from people who have never demonstrated they can do this. Brian can freestyle. If he has a bunch of reels that he's freestyle, I'm like, I need to book this guy to have all my parties. If you create logos and you don't show that you do logos at the highest level, why would anybody hire you? And he knows what sells for fitness. What sells for fitness, everybody? Yeah, that's what he was doing. Soon I'll be shirtless myself. You know what I mean? That's what he knows what sells. 6-pack abs sell. And he's got all 6 of them. maybe 8. I don't know. So you have to show the goods, whatever the goods are. Focus. I shouldn't have drawn this. You see how effective it is? And now you can't stop thinking about his ads.
Don't be afraid of playing back what you heard. People generally avoid this because they're scared that they weren't paying careful enough attention, and by saying what they've heard, they're only confirming what their clients have suspected. I thought I was doing a great job until my coach told me, you're not doing a great job. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he told me, how can you guess at what the client wants? Why don't you just ask them what they want? And after some practice, we did it, and it changed the entire trajectory of our company by learning this one basic technique of staying in the conversation, unafraid of it taking longer than you want. Because it's not about expediency, it's about understanding. And I choose understanding over speed every single time. And it became our competitive advantage. When you give voice to a feeling or frustration, you diminish the power of that frustration and that feeling. You remove the intensity of it. So by saying at the beginning of a conference call, our process is truly to understand what it is that you want, what motivates you, what inspires you, so that we can come back to you with a solution that matters to you. The only way we know how to do this is to ask you a lot of questions. Some clients find this process to be uncomfortable, but it's the only way we know how to work. And they say, yeah. That's usually what they say. Like, yeah, no worries. And then we get into it. And 45 minutes into a 15-minute call, we're deep into it. And we're unraveling all kinds of stuff. An hour and a half in, thank you. We don't have any more questions. Do you have any questions for us? Now, a lot of people think then when you go away and work on the pitch deck or the proposal, that's where you want it. The battle was won here. Mistake number 3 is related to the first two, which is the desire to close too early. You have an agenda, you want to get the business, and so you're so eager for the business that it doesn't even appear to the client that you're concerned about listening to them or wanting to solve a problem based on their individual needs and wants. I had a person come up to me after a workshop that I did many years ago, and they said, Chris, great workshop. When are you going to hire me? I was like, whew, how about you take me out on a date first? When am I going to hire you? I didn't even know I liked you. I didn't know I was hiring, and I don't even know what you're qualified for. But I know people say this as a joke, but it makes it super uncomfortable for me. And I'm just trying to illustrate and emphasize what some of you do. And when you try to sell too early in life and in relationships and in business, all things are the same. It says I'm desperate and I'm self-interested. There's something that I want to get, and it doesn't really matter what you want or what you're interested in. So avoid trying to close too early.
I'm going to tell you a quick story. This is a real story. She now works for us. Before she didn't. I was coaching her. She's like, Chris, I'm tired of feeling like crap. I'm like, what do you mean? So clients call me and they just run over me. I don't feel like they respect me, they don't trust me, and I just feel so bad. I said, here's what you're gonna do. I want you to find a client you absolutely do not want to work with, that you would hate their guts. She goes, oh, I'll have them. So she called me back 2 days later, and I told her what to say. When your client calls you, I want you to unsell yourself. I want you to serve the clients because you don't want to work with them. I want you to retreat and see if they follow. I want you to recommend other people, other options, and do what you can for that client. Client called her, she's like, I just want to let you know up front, I'm booked, I can't. And she just diagnosed the problem, and she gave her some good suggestions, and then the client left. The client then later called her and said, I just recommended you to 2 friends. And she said, Chris, for the first time in a really long time, I ever felt respected, I felt wanted, and I felt like they were going to allow me to lead the engagement. All of you are chasing your clients and trying to act fakely as a generous person, but you're acting in your own self-interest. That's the problem.
Never justify your price, because justification is a sign of conceding the higher ground to your prospect. And if we just map this out to other things, then you'll see why it makes sense. Now, your initial reaction is going to be very emotional. Like, of course, your clients need to know how you charge, why you charge, and you got to tell the whole story. But if you just pause that thought for a second, and I want to look at things and introduce this concept to you, and I've talked about it before. It's called the symmetry of logic, where if it works one way, then it should work in most other ways. But if it only works in one instance and every other instance in your life, it doesn't work, maybe you have to question whether or not this is a truth or it's just something you want to hold on to be true.
What's up, Chris?
Hey, Mo.
I'm super glad you can take this call. I was hoping that you could cut up one of those banger videos that you make that I see on your website.
I'd love to do that for you. What's your budget?
I have $1,000.
$1,000. Is this video important to you?
I think it will be, if you do it.
What problem does this solve for $1,000?
We're trying to build awareness. No one's walking into the store.
Okay. So how much awareness do you want it to build?
You know, I'd like to have at least 2 to 3 people walk into the store, an increase of 2 to 3 people a day. Sorry, a day, yeah.
Right. And so what kind of business would that generate for you?
Our average product sells for about $100. So you're looking at about $200 to $300 worth of increased revenue.
Okay. So let's say 250. We'll split the difference.
That sounds good to me.
Times 30 days. Right?
Mhm.
30 days in a month on average. What does that work out to be? That's $7,500 of new revenue for you a month.
Mm-hmm.
Does spending $1,000 seem appropriate for $7,500 of revenue per month?
It's more than 10%, right?
A month? Are you going to do $1,000 video every month?
Maybe if you do this one good.
Okay. I'm a little concerned. This is not enough money. And I'd like to share with you a quote I love from business philosopher Jim Rohn. And so it feels a little disproportionate, doesn't it?
When you say that quote, I think it does.
You can't just roll right into my
Come on,
you can't just roll. You can't.
But I mean, you do business. You don't want to overspend. And are you going to guarantee me $7,500 a month?
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just trying to measure effort versus result.
Okay.
When somebody comes to me and they say, I don't have a lot of money to do something, my first instinct is say, let's not do it. It's not important. Wouldn't that be your instinct too?
Yeah.
Where else can you spend your $1,000 to make a bigger impact on your business? Because I don't want to take your money to do something that's not important. Is it important or isn't it?
I mean, I think it's important.
Not $1,000 important.
Don't break Mo.
Can you elaborate on what you mean by not $1,000 important?
Yeah, like if you look at the expenses and things that you spend on personal and business, where does the $1,000 rank in the things that you spend? Is it on the high end or is it on the low end? Like how much did that refrigeration unit cost you? And how much is the AC? And when you wanted to do the polished floors, what did you spend on that? And how did that have any material impact on your business? You see what I'm saying now?
I do.
And I saw the BMW parked outside, the 5 Series, the M5, and I think, you see what I'm saying? That was really important to you. So I find that in my life and my experience that people tend to spend money on what they value. That makes perfect sense, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, if you like a fancy pair of pants, you'll spend the money for that. And if you don't, you'll buy the cheaper version. So when somebody comes to me and says, I have a real business problem, Chris, and I want to spend 1,000 big smackaroonies on it, I don't think that's a real problem. And let me just caution you on this. I know what happens a lot of times. Businesses like yours see other businesses produce video, and then we have video envy. And then we create it just to say like, yeah, we're keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know if that's good use of your money. Now, in order for me to do this properly, I'd probably have to spend quite a bit of time sitting down, talking to you about what the purpose of the video is, what your goals are, and how it may or may not work, and if it's going to even be targeted to the right people. That's going to take a long conversation. But it would seem disproportionate, the length of that conversation, for your time and my time to talk about a $1,000 problem. What would you like to do?
I don't want to spend more than that.
Then you shouldn't. But I'm probably not the person to do that for you then. And I would encourage you not to spend that money with anybody, not just me. What would you like to do?
Probably find somebody that can do the video for $1,000.
That is your prerogative.
Can you recommend anybody?
Yeah, I hear there's a site called Fiverr. You could do it for $5.
Thanks, Chris.
You're welcome.
Mistake number 4, you have no filter. Anybody with a heartbeat and some money to spend, you'll take on as a client. It's really important for you to be able to say you're a good fit for us or you're a poor fit for us. And in order to be able to do that, you need to know under what conditions will you accept a client's money. Well, the first thing is, can you deliver value to them? Would it give you joy to take on this project? Do you like this person? Is the budget and the timeline appropriate for the things that they're wanting? Because oftentimes our need to make money, to keep the lights on, to pay rent, supersedes our ability to filter out poor fits. And
What it's also saying is, I have no standards, I'm not discriminating enough, and I'm not probably someone that you can trust. Notice how the highest paid people in the world are not only highly specialized in what they do, that is a form of a filter. Notice how the most sought after people are able to charge the most amount of money and to be able to have a long wait list for people who want to work with them. What is it they're doing? They're creating sometimes artificial and real filters or barriers in order to be able to work with them. And it makes us want to work with them even more. So by being more selective and being more discriminatory, you're going to create the desire in the client's mind that this person doesn't need me, doesn't want my business, yet they still want to work with me. I trust them a little bit more.
I need some advice.
Okay.
We have a client objection that I need to overcome today at 4. So we literally have 2 hours to do that.
Okay. Is this a fairly large job?
Yeah, it's
Okay, so if you were to dollars, you might be a little gun shy too. So let's start from a place of empathy and try to understand what their concerns are. And why are they gun shy? Why are they hesitant to pull the trigger and just not award the job and begin the whole process?
I think that the CEO has been burned in the past by agencies. So I think that the main decision maker, the reason why he's gun shy is that he's just been burned.
And the way that I find to get around this is to just ask them back for clarity. What is it that they're asking us to do? Oftentimes, when you ask for this, out of their mouths comes something very ridiculous and you're just only going to confirm that. And I know that making a gigantic commitment like dollars is a lot. Maybe what we can do is then provide options like a phased engagement where we can do part of the work so that we mitigate the risk. And what we want to do then is to lean in with empathy to say, we understand is a large sum of money. We understand and can appreciate the fact that you've been burned before. Let's try to come up with a scenario where you can feel relatively safe, reasonably comfortable about moving forward with us if that's what you would like to do.
So it's kind of putting us on the same side.
We're always on the same side, to be honest, because remember what we've talked about before, in that there are always 3 outcomes of any potential prospective client interaction. 1 is they hire us, which is what we always think we want to have happen. 2, they hire somebody else. And 3, they do nothing. Our only obligation is to be clear and provide them with information so they can make a decision as to how they want to proceed. I'm not trying to pitch, I'm not trying to sell, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. So the first thing is, let's try and find out
what the
ask is, because sometimes we hear something and it's not exactly what it is. So if you say to them, can you tell me what the request is? And they're gonna say, yes, we would like for you to do some of this work without getting paid. And they need to say in those words to help them realize that, right?
And if they don't,
you can help.
I need to ask
other questions. So what I'm hearing is the part where we put into our bid for 50K, you want us to do that work for free or some portion of that work for free. Is that what you're asking me? Would you do that? Would you recommend that I go tell my boss to do that work for free? Okay, so what kind of assurances can I make to you so that we mitigate the risk that you're feeling, the anxiety? What can we do?
Alternatively, I mean, we've already walked them through one case study, but we kind of glazed over the discovery session. What if we did a deep dive on a case study on what the discovery session was?
Well, if that's what they say they want.
Okay.
I'm gonna caution you here. A lot of people come in like, I'm gonna talk about that case study because that's gonna be it. And they don't actually hear what it is that the client's saying. You have to be able to listen to what they're saying, right?
So ask what the ask is.
Get clarity. And then get them to say it. And the objective there is to help them realize that may be an unreasonable request. And then say it back to them, here's what I heard.
Yep.
So now they can even hear the absurdity of their request. You really want red apples in the middle of the desert.
Yep.
And then you can ask, how do you propose we do that?
How can we do this? How can we make you guys feel safe?
No. Not yet.
Okay.
How do you propose us getting red apples in the middle of the desert? How do you propose we bring our creative team to your office to run a strategy session and not get paid for that?
Oh, I see.
How do you propose we do that as a business? How do we do that and be sustainable?
So you're just driving that point home.
I have to help them understand that.
Right.
You can also ask them, were there warning signs of the last vendor who did this that burned you? I want to be really sensitive to this, right? It's like I had a bad feeling, they had a really small team, they didn't have a legitimate office, and then you can say, okay, Is there anything that I'm saying that you feel uncomfortable with? Would you like to meet the owner? You want to meet the executive? Like, are there other people you want to meet? Would you like to come to our office? Or I can create a virtual tool. So I'm just going to try to address whatever it is. I want to be deeply empathetic and understanding. And through that, people start to feel like, this guy cares. So we are going to do this together. How can we help you?
Show empathy through
You got to show empathy to demonstrate understanding. Does that help you?
It does.
Okay.
I think I'm ready.
So go on this call, ask, be open, don't expect anything. Let me know what happens, and then we'll circle back and see how you did.
Thank you, sir.
You go in and ask a car dealership, why is the car priced this way? Try that. Go to any supermarket and ask them, why does a can of beans cost 78 cents? Why does that head of lettuce cost 54 cents or $3? Why does this green juice cost $9? Go to the car wash, ask them, why is it $9? Some of them will explain, some of them will not. But many of them, you're like, this is uncomfortable to even ask. So if it's uncomfortable for you to ask, why do you think it's good for you to answer this kind of question? Your prices are your prices. And through a series of your own calculations in terms of overhead, profit margin, cost of living, everything that you need, your level of experience, your level of quality, you've determined this is your price. And at this point, all you can do and all you should do is present to your prospects, this is the price. I'm not really negotiable on the price. If you don't want to work with me, I totally understand, because for every customer, there's a vendor, and I probably am not the right person for you. And I find that any prospect who immediately challenges me on the price and asks me to justify, I already know it's going to be a long day. And I've done enough business where I'm like, the last time I took on a client like that, I didn't enjoy the experience. And I want you to reflect back on your life. The last time I dated a person that asked me all these questions for me to justify myself, to make me prove myself to their parents, that relationship did not go well. And maybe it did work out for you. And if it did, by all means, keep doing it. We have to understand that if it doesn't apply in most cases in our life, why would it apply in this one way? Because you know why? Because we're so used to answering questions, justifying ourselves, pleasing other people, because we're people pleasers. We're conflict averse, and we think every question is a legitimate question. It is not. Not all questions are legitimate. Answering why is it this much or justify your price is not a legitimate question in my mind. When you start to develop the real skills and this kind of thinking, what you want to do is reduce the 1.5 hour question down to 2 questions. Take your 2 best questions and ask them up front. Why do you need a new logo? Why not do nothing at all? And why would you want to work with me? The next mistake is people use the wrong tone of voice. It's not something that we're super mindful of, especially in everyday conversation. We're not paying particular attention to the words that we choose and being intentional in the tone in which we deliver. You'll notice that if I were to speak really fast, I'm going to do that in a second, and you're going to see my energy change just by changing the speed in which I talk. So hey everybody, I'm super excited to see you here today. I have something to talk to you about, and I think you're going to get a lot of value. These are 5 mistakes that people make. What's it creating inside your mind just listening to this? Your heart rate might be going up. You're going to start to feel really anxious because why is Chris talking so fast at me right now? Is there something that he wants? Is a house on fire? Is he desperate to get out of here? Is he in a rush? And those things signal to the client that for the wrong reasons, you're not the person to trust. Instead, try to master your tone of voice. Chris Voss talks about in his book, Never Split the Difference, about the late night FM DJ voice. Speak in slow, low tone of voice. Take lots of breaths and it'll calm people down. Imagine you're driving down the PCH on a beautiful moonlit night and the smooth jazz FM DJ voice comes on.
You're cruising down the PCH, listening to K-Jazz 101. Hoping you have an amazing night tonight. This shout out goes to all the lovers out there. And it just puts you at ease. So if you can speak from a lower register, slow your voice down, it calms the other person down. You'll notice too, if somebody's really angry and you speak to them in a slow, calm, deliberate voice, it starts to calm them down. And if you want somebody to get really excited about something, you start to speed up your voice. You might even change your pitch and intonation. When you chase after someone and you chase after a job, their tendency is to want to run away. And it happens in dating, it happens in nature. If you feel chased, you feel threatened, you feel like the other person's desperate, that there's something else at hand. But what you want to do is practice something that he calls retreat and follow. In every relationship, this is true, which is you take a half step back to see if the person's interested and they naturally will follow. For example, if you are at a party or something and you just take a half step back, people will move towards you if they're interested or they'll leave. And we like to pursue people and we don't like to be pursued. So when I say you should try to kill the engagement at least 3 times, is you say things to make sure that the other party is really engaged.